So after I made the decision that we're going to name the church Elevation Church, which, by the way, most people thought was a bad idea. It sounds like a youth group. It sounds like a cult. It's already the name of a U2 world tour. And after I said, I don't care, Bono can get over it, we're going to name the church Elevation Church, I remember one of my next conversations was telling Chunks, get the website.
So he's adamant that we get a website, and we do not even live in Charlotte yet.
Which was technically true. We didn't have a place for our church to meet yet. We didn't even live in Charlotte yet. But I had studied all the churches, I knew one day we're gonna put our messages online. People are gonna come to our site. People are gonna give online.
Aren't these things expensive? We do not have any money for a website.
And I said, no, I got this friend. I got this guy I went to college with. He'll do it. He owes me one. I'll get him to build it. It'll be amazing. Just get the site, elevationchurch.com.
And whenever they told me that elevationchurch.com was taken and we can't even get the domain we want, then I'm thinking the whole deal's off and we're gonna save the money.
I went and checked on elevationchurch.com. It's not available. Just a guy in Colorado, he's already got it. He's got some pictures of some mountains on there. elevationchurch.com. Can't get it. So I said, pay the guy off, man. Go to Colorado, threaten him, or just do elevationchurch.org. But we need to get our site. We need to build it. What I never imagined is that more people would actually experience our messages and experience our ministry online each and every week through the site, through the app, than even walk through our doors physically. I didn't have the foresight at the time to really understand what it would mean to have a worldwide presence, a worldwide impact, that people from all walks of life all over the world would be tuning in and being blessed by what's happening in our church.
So it was 2012, night 6 of the Code Orange revival. I just tuned in, and I've pretty much been watching ever since. God's just been using Elevation to speak right to me. The biggest thing that was going on for me at the time, particularly in 2012, was that I have an immigration issue. I'm allowed to live here, to work here. I just don't have any up-to-date paperwork that says that. That's literally left me in this position of being stuck. And I can't travel, I can't work, and it's cost me jobs, it's cost me opportunities, and it's been very frustrating because it's felt like, what do I do now? There's been quite a lot of sermons over the years that have helped. Don't Stop on 6, Waiting Room, Functional Faith series, just everything in that. Your seed is still on schedule. Am I headed in the right direction? Every week I've listened, and it always just felt so relevant. It's kept me going every single day. It's been like a new perspective for the next day. For the past 7 years, when I've lost a job again, when I've had to move house again, when all this stuff keeps happening, the different sermons have helped me to keep going. The way that Elevation has helped is to help me shift my perspective. I don't feel so overwhelmed by my situation. He hasn't failed me yet, so why is he gonna start now?
I first got connected in 2011. My coach at the time told me about Elevation as this great resource, and I could watch their sermons, overseas when I traveled. And so I was in Istanbul for the World Championships that year, and I remember watching The Prodigy in me, and I think that was the first time I felt freed from expectations from others and from myself. I didn't know how to find joy. I didn't know how to feel like I didn't need the win to say anything about my self-worth. Every single sermon that I've watched, I'm in tears at the end of. The church has just been such a huge family and a community for me. I'll be in Mongolia, Japan, Turkey, Greece, China. So I'll just throw some headphones in. I can just say, okay, you know what? Elevation just feels like my secret weapon. It's like 24/7 sports psych, 24/7 love, like 24/7 joy. It's awesome. I'm leaving for Spain for training camp. Then after, we're going to Colorado. After that, I go to Brazil for the Olympic Games. Life is more than wrestling. He also has a purpose for me through it, and it's not just about me winning. It's not just me getting a gold just to have a medal and hang up, somewhere when I go home. And gold or whatever, the journey in itself, God has just taught me so much and just made me realize that wrestling is this great tool that He's using in my life to shape me for my future.
It's 2013. I'm finishing this series, Expectation Gap. I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks, and I walk off the stage after preaching the 9:30 worship experience at Blakeney, and something inside of me told me, don't go back on stage and preach the 11:30. And so I thought that was very odd. I'm not one of those kind of guys. I don't think everything that comes to my mind comes from God, but it was very strong. So I told the team, I'm not preaching the 11:30, I'm gonna go home. I didn't even know why I was going home because I was about to go on vacation. It wasn't like I needed a rest or something. I was about to get a rest. But something told me to leave, so I told them to play back the 9:30, both in the auditoriums and on the Elevation Network online. And got in the car, and the next impression I had was, go see your dad. At the time, my dad was dying of ALS. And he had weakened to the point that he couldn't get out of the bed without assistance. My mom was taking care of him. And so I went by there, went inside, and my dad's laying in the bed and he's got his iPad on this little tray table that my mom had set up for him. And just about the time I'm walking in, the worship experience at Elevation from our 11:30 experience is starting to play back on the iPad. My dad looks up and he's so confused. He goes, what are you doing here? Like, he was happy to see me, but he didn't understand it. And he said, but you got to be on here. And something in his mind, he couldn't understand exactly what was happening. A few minutes later, of course, I come up on the stage to preach on his iPad, and I'm sitting next to him. I'm on his bed right next to him. And I watched myself preach, which is always a terrible experience to have to watch yourself on camera. But I watched myself preach right beside my dad, and we watched the whole sermon together. It's kind of cool. He's saying amen and stuff. He's kind of maybe telling me a few things I should have fixed as well. But at the end of watching the sermon with him, and I walk off the stage, and you can see the camera as I walk off the stage, he goes, preacher man gone. Out the back door. Because I go off the side stage. Preacher man gone. Out the back door. And I talked to him a few more minutes, gave him a hug, and left. Went on vacation with my family that night. Got a call in the middle of the night from my mom that they were calling in hospice. My dad had lost his ability to speak. He would only be with us a very short amount of time. The last time that I got to have a conversation with my dad, he was watching me preach on the Elevation Network on his iPad as I sat next to him. In moments like that, you realize that you never know where these messages are gonna find somebody. You never know what kind of divine appointments God is setting up with people. It's not always gonna happen in a church building. Sometimes it might happen in a hospital bed on an iPad. And to think now, not a week goes by that I don't get multiple testimonies from people all over the world saying, this made a difference in my life. This got me through my hardest time. This is what keeps me going. I'm just glad we made the decision early on that if people couldn't come to us, we were gonna go to them.